ABC Kidder Teach presents Fish is Fish, written by Lionni. It looks like the fish is thinking that a fish has wings. We better check this story out. At the edge of the woods there was a pond, and there was a minnow right there. That's what a real minnow looks like. And a tadpole, and that's what a real tadpole looks like. And there's the one in the picture. Swam among the weeds. They were inseparable friends, which means they were always together. One morning, the tadpole discovered that during the night he had grown 2 little legs. And there's his legs in the picture. And these are what the legs of a real tadpole look like. "Look!" he said triumphantly, which means he was happy at what he did. "Look! I am a frog!" "Nonsense!" which means that makes no sense, said the minnow. "How could you be a frog if only last night you were a little fish just like me?" They argued and argued until finally the tadpole said, "Frogs are frogs, and fish is fish, and that's that." In the weeks that followed, the tadpole grew tiny front legs, and his tail got smaller and smaller. And that is where we're looking at. We'll see how his tail starts getting smaller and smaller. And then one fine day, which means it's just a nice day, a real frog now, he climbed out of the water and onto the grassy bank. And the bank is just the ground near the water. The minnow too had grown and had become a full-fledged or fully grown fish. He often wondered where his 4-footed friend had gone, the frog. But days and weeks went by and the frog did not return. Where is that frog, I wonder? Then one day, with a happy splash that shook the weeds, the frog jumped into the pond. He looks pretty happy, doesn't he? And the fish looks happy to see him. "Where have you been?" asked the fish excitedly. "I have been about the world, hopping here and there," said the frog, "and I have seen extraordinary things." Extraordinary or extraordinary just means very special things. I wonder what kind of things the frog saw. Other frogs? Other fish? I wonder what he's going to say. "Like what?" asked the fish. "Birds," said the frog mysteriously, which mysteriously means he said it in a way that birds would seem strange to a minnow. "Birds!" And he told the fish about the birds who had wings and 2 legs and many, many colors. Now, this fish is thinking that a bird looks like a fish with wings, right? Not like they really look, but he's just thinking, oh, they must look like fish with wings. As the frog talked, his friend saw the birds fly through his mind like large feathered fish. Not birds, but like feathered fish. "What else?" asked the fish impatiently, which means he didn't want to wait. "Cows," said the frog. "Cows. They have 4 legs, horns, eat grass, and carry pink bags of milk." Now, the fish is thinking that a cow looks like a fish, but just a little bit differently. We know that's not right. And that's what a pink bag of milk looks like on a cow. It's where the milk comes from. and people, said the frog. Men, women, children. And he talked and talked until it was dark in the pond. But the picture in the fish's mind was full of lights and colors and marvelous or wonderful things, and he couldn't sleep. Ah, if he could only jump about like his friend and see that wonderful world. Do you think the frog can get out of the water and see the world? I'm thinking I'm not so sure about that. And look at what's the fish thinking that people look like? He thinks that they just look like fish. And so he's thinking, all right, this is what birds look like. This is what a cow looks like. This is what people look like. There's another bird, and they all look like fish to the fish. And so the days went by, the frog had gone, and the fish just lay there dreaming about birds in flight, grazing cows, or cows that eat grass, and those strange animals, people, all dressed up that his friend called people. One day he finally decided that come what may, like whatever happens, happens, he too must see them. And so with a mighty whack of his tail, which means he kind of really tried to jump really high, he jumped clear out of the water onto the bank. Uh-oh. This does not sound good, does it? Because fish are supposed to be in the water, not on the land, because they can't breathe, right? Let's see what happens. Maybe he turns into a frog. Do you think? He landed in the dry, warm grass, and there he lay gasping for air, which means breathing quickly because it was hard for him to breathe, like unable to breathe or to move. Help! He groaned feebly, which means he moaned weakly, which means he could hardly say it because he just took all of his energy just to say it really softly. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think he's going to be able to fall back in the water or what? Yeah, maybe the frog comes by. Maybe. Luckily, the frog, who had been hunting butterflies nearby, saw him and with all his strength pushed him back into the pond. Oh, that's a good friend. That is a great friend. And he looks happy to jump back in the water, doesn't he? Still stunned, which means in a daze, like, where am I? The fish floated about for an instant, like a second. Then he breathed deeply, letting the clean, cool water run through his gills. And that's the gill of a fish. And they use that to breathe in water and get the oxygen or the air out of the water. Now he felt weightless again, which means like floating in air. And with an ever so slight motion of the tail, which means barely noticeable movement of his tail, he could move to and fro, or back and forth, up and down as before. The sun rays reached down within the weeds and gently shifted, which means moved from side to side, patches of luminous or bright and full of light color. This world was surely the most beautiful of all worlds. He smiled at his friend the frog, who sat watching him from a lily leaf. "You were right," he said. "Fish is fish."